Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is the most difficult character to play in Marvel Rivals. He's a high-speed, dive-style damage dealer that has a bit of complicated combos to be able to pull off his damage output. His entire kit revolves around amplifying his damage based off other hits that he lands, he has no defensive abilities, and he's relatively squishy. So players getting into this character are going to find themselves on the pavement quite a bit. The risk versus reward on this character is very extreme. Most of the time you're going to bounce into the enemy team, attempt to do your combo, fail, and then if you don't know what you're doing, instantly die. A good Spider-Man ends the game with a relatively low damage output, but a lot of final hits, because it's his job to take out targets in as little time as possible and then get out. He's not doing sustained damage into the enemy team. In this guide, we're going to go over what he does, how to play him, and what mindsets to have while trying to play as this character to be more effective in your games. Now, Dive Duelist is my worst role, so some of the plays that you're going to see here could be executed a lot cleaner and a lot better, and I definitely get that, but this isn't about my performance, it's about understanding how the moves actually work and the mindset behind them. Spider-Man's basic attack is Spider Power. This is a simple 2-strike combo followed up by a large kick. The 2 strikes do a small amount of damage, and the kick does the equivalent of the 2 strikes in a single blow. It's not very often you're going to be going through his full combo as this character, as you're not really staying in the enemy lines long enough to even get the triple strike off. His basic attack does change if you're in the air. If you're higher than a basic jump height and you use your basic attack, you instead do a downward smash. This smash does extra damage but has a long windup and is very obvious. While usually that would make it not the ideal strike, as Spider-Man, it's one of the best strikes you have if you're using it effectively. His secondary fire is Web Cluster, but I tend to call this just his thwip, and he thwips out a little bit of webs at the target. He's got 5 shots of this, and there's an indicator in the center of his screen that tells you how many thwips you currently have built up. You can also see it in the bottom left corner in the ammo section. It'll tell you how many thwips you have available. Now, these web clusters leave what's called a spider tracer on the target. When you hit a target with the thwip, you'll see the spider tracer icon above their head. Most of his other strikes, when they hit a target that has a tracer on it, are going to deal double damage. And this is where Spider-Man's combos come into play. You need to be weaving in thwips between your different combos to be able to get utilization of the extra damage. It takes nearly 3 full sets of his basic attack to take out a Galactobot. With the thwips, you can do a thwip, basic, and then thwip or final basic to be able to take out the target. And if you're in the air and land a thwip and then that overhead smash, it deals over half a duelist's health. And this is Spider-Man's bread and butter burst tool. Get Over Here is Spider-Man's E ability. He'll shoot out a web strand towards his target, and if it lands on them, he'll pull them towards himself, which puts on a brief stun onto the target. This has about a 20-meter range. Once you've landed the shot, you can move further back to pull them even further. If there's a spider tracer on the target, activating this ability pulls you to the target instead of pulling the target to you. When you pull yourself to your spider trace target, it does not remove the spider tracers. You can immediately follow that up with an ability to enhance that ability's damage by double. Displacement abilities like this are extremely powerful, and creative Spider-Men are doing a lot of really cool combos with this, like jumping off the side of a map and pulling the target to them, pulling them off of the map. It can also be really great to grab onto an enemy vanguard and pull them deep into your team, allowing your team to nuke them down before their healers can compensate. It's also a great tool to pull targets off of your backliners if enemies have delved into your team. Amazing Combo is his F ability, and this does an uppercut strike on the target that deals a decent chunk of damage. You have 2 charges on this, but it does have a short cooldown between charges. So you can't just instantly uppercut them and then uppercut them even higher. If the target is thwipped before you use this, it'll again deal over half of the target's health. This results in Spider-Man's fastest time to kill. Coming in from above is a thwip, overhead strike, thwip, amazing combo. This will annihilate a target very, very quickly. You almost always want to use this ability after you've thwipped onto a target. The damage difference is significant, and you don't want to be wasting these uppercuts on targets that you don't have the damage boost on from the secondary fire. To get around the map, Spider-Man has 2 main skills. First up is his wall crawl. Pressing jump while you're near a wall will begin wall crawling. This will be a slow amount of movement and you're going to be able to crawl around on the walls, looking about and planning out your attacks. If you hold down primary fire while you're wall crawling, you'll begin running instead, and you'll begin a run animation that boosts your movement speed significantly. Note, you cannot make any attacks while you are wall crawling. Both your primary and secondary fire are disabled and you're not able to activate any of your abilities. His other movement ability is his web swing. This is the left shift ability, and it'll shoot out a web grabbing onto a surface and begin you swinging. Of course, this is exactly what you would expect Spider-Man to be able to do, and it is extremely satisfying to play around with. It has 3 charges and will not use up a charge unless you successfully land it onto a surface. Now initially the settings aren't great, so go into your Spider-Man settings and change around some of these things. I like hold the swing to be on, automatic swing off, hold the wall crawl off, hold the run on walls on, and direction of wall crawling change towards advance towards crosshair. With these settings, you should have a lot more control over Spider-Man's movement and abilities in the game. You're going to want to jump into the practice range and practice out both wall crawling and swinging around until you get really familiar with it and have really great control over how to land the ability and how to move about. If auto web swinging is on, it'll attempt to shoot the webs upwards towards the surface above you. This can be fine when you're very first started learning the character, because it does give you a way to guarantee that you are going to land your swing immediately upon activating. This one won't fail to grab a target and will begin you swinging, but oftentimes it's going to grab onto an unideal location and not give you as much control over swinging as you possibly can. With these swing off, you also have the option to grab onto areas that are not directly above you. Swinging onto the ground in front of you, Spider-Man will lunge forward and do a cartwheel. This gives you a great boost of movement speed and a lot of control over where you're going to end up. General rule of thumb is if your cursor is below your character's current position, you're going to do a pull forward kind of style swing, where if your cursor is equal to or above your character's current position, you're going to begin a swing version. You're going to want to practice and know exactly what type of swing you're going to get, and a lot of swing practice is very, very valuable as Spider-Man. Spidey has a double jump. Hitting jump again while in the air will perform the double jump. This ability will reset upon landing on the ground or after doing one of your swings. Utilizing this double jump is how you get a lot more control over your movement and making sure you can land your spider tracers and follow it up with those downward smashes. Spidey has a second passive, which is Spider Sense. If an enemy is nearby but out of line of sight, Spider-Man's Spider Sense will kick in. Your screen will shake and you'll get an indicator above your head. This tells you that there is an enemy nearby and you need to start to be careful. Use this to creep around out of line of sight and know when you're going to have a target nearby to be able to assassinate. Taking out straggling targets is really Spider-Man's specialty, and this lets you know that there's one nearby. Spider-Man's ultimate is a spectacular spin. When activated, he'll begin doing an animation where he shoots out webs in all directions around him, damaging all targets. And if a target is in the web for a long duration, they'll become webbed and stunned. This is a very powerful ultimate. You can do major team wipes with this ability and take out entire enemy backlines. Really common use of this is to be swinging around the arena, quickly pull yourself into the enemy team with a second swing, and follow it up with an amazing uppercut combo, knocking targets up in the air, and then using your ultimate to wipe them out. If enemies aren't ready for this, you're going to be shattering the enemy backline and should get a pretty easy team win. But if they are ready for it, they may begin activating their healer ultimate, which will shut down your combo entirely. Note that during the spider spin, you cannot cancel it in any way. You're going to have to deal with the full animation before you're able to be mobile again. Spidey is the beneficiary of the Suit Expulsion team-up from Venom. This gives you a new activated ability that will shoot tendrils out from around you. You'll be slowed and unable to jump during this animation, but any targets within your sphere will take damage and be knocked away from you. This ability speeds up Spider-Man's kill combo quite a bit. Doing a thwip, get over here, amazing combo, basic attack into armor expulsion will kill a target very quickly and then knock all enemies away from you, making it much less likely they're going to be able to kill you before you can get out. During the expulsion, you can hit the key again, or you can begin a web swing to instantly cancel it and begin moving again. So once you've taken out your priority target, you can just get right out of there. Spider-Man supplies a team up with Squirrel Girl, which will give her the ability to root targets. We'll talk more about that in her video. Alright, so playing as Spider-Man. Spider-Man is an assassin-style character. It's his job to take out straggling targets and to wipe out the enemy backline when they're not ready for it. He's not much of a team fighter. He has no defensive abilities and very small health pool, which means he gets taken out quite easily in fights. And good Spider-Man players are constantly looking for opportunities to be able to take out a target and then get out as quickly as they can. You need to be able to assess the situation as well as quickly react to changes in the plan. If you've swung in on your target and began your combo, but they receive some healing, you're now going to know that you cannot kill the target. Once the enemies know that you're there, Spider-Man is very vulnerable, so you need to be able to pay attention to if your combo is going to successfully kill this target immediately, or if you need to find an escape route. When diving, make sure you always have one additional web swing available to get yourself out, and don't commit all of your web swings just to get into the enemy team. Be a little bit more patient. Swing around and find wall crawl areas that you can land on and plan out your attack. Wait until you have 2 swings available, and then jump towards the enemy team, using your first swing to pull yourself right into the enemies and begin your combo, and then using your second swing to get out as soon as you've taken out your target, or if they've reacted to your presence. Beginner and bad Spider-Men will often find themselves going into the enemy team attempting a kill, failing to get the initial combo off, and then staying too long trying to salvage the attempt. As soon as the attempt fails, you need to get out of there and try again. Alternatively, you could also come in from the ground level, focusing in on a target, and use your get over here to pull them towards you and away from their allies. Then quickly thwip uppercut and use your basics to take the target out. A lot of Spider-Men make the mistake of never being with their team, and thinking that they always have to be on the assassination. Spider-Man's actually pretty decent at anti-dive, taking out divers that have gotten onto his own backlines. Know who you're up against and understand Spider-Man's weaknesses. Namor can react instantly with his bubble to be able to stop your dive from killing him, and then as you're trying to escape, if you get even close to low health, his squids are going to annihilate you. When you're playing into characters like this, you might need to play Spider-Man differently, or of course switch to a character that doesn't struggle as much into these targets. If you're dedicated to staying on Spider-Man, you have to change your tactics from a dive assassin over to a disruptor. Use your pull-in and uppercuts to disrupt the enemy team, and swing about on the ground level, pulling yourself around with your web swings. This will give you quick movement, be able to do a quick couple of combos, and swing yourself back out. Understanding when and how to change your playstyle is going to be really important to becoming a successful player of this character. When playing as Spider-Man, you're going to be dealing a lot with allies that get very frustrated with your damage output. Unlike a lot of other duelists, Spider-Man does almost no damage for most of the game. You're not just firing shots into the enemy team, building up your ultimate bar, and doing chip damage that easily gets healed off. All of your engagements need to land in a kill or close to one, and you need to be getting out as soon as you succeed or fail to get one. It means your total damage output is going to be rather low, and you have to accept that as this character. You're looking for final hits, not damage output. As with most characters, I recommend spending some time in the training grounds, heading down into the practice range section, spawning some enemies, and practicing out your combo. Start off with stationary targets, practice landing the thwip overhead, thwip uppercut combo to be able to kill a target. When you're able to reliably land that combo quickly without canceling out the overhead, then you're going to want to switch over to mobile targets, slowly increasing their speed and movement timings to be able to practice out your damage. After all, enemies in the game are almost never stationary, you need to be able to land this combo on mobile targets. The more successful thwips that you land, the more successful assassinations you're going to have, and the better time you're going to do with Spider-Man. So definitely take practice range time seriously. I hope using this guide you were able to figure out how to play Spider-Man a lot better and master everyone's favorite web swinger. In the next video, we're going to talk about the Moon. Moon Knight is a really powerful and reliable damage dealer that does sustained damage and has some auto-aim potential. But we'll talk more about that next time.
Sazaze.